The Australian lingo, that's another reason these movies are so great. You get to learn words like sproggo, which means a child.
I just thought these were like Mad Max words.
That's the thing, yeah.
I don't know.
And like, I'm still not sure if the characters are calling gasoline guzzoline, because that's what they say in this weird future.
Yeah.
Or they're saying gasoline, but they're pronouncing it guzzoline, because the subtitles say gasoline.
But sometimes you
that's
can't
not
rely
as
on
fun,
subtitles. Yeah.
This is Load Bearing Beams Movie Podcast. I'm Matt Stokes.
I'm Laci Roth.
We're a married couple, and each week we talk about a different movie. A deep dive into that movie.
One that I haven't seen that he loves. One that he hasn't seen that I love.
And
foundational movies, you dig?
Or sometimes we don't follow those rules. It's all okay.
Whatever.
Why is that? Why are you going to get hung up on that?
I want to explain the name of our podcast to those who don't understand why we should name it such a long title.
But as I have said before,
it's
just again. The title. You know, what does Chapo Trap House mean? I don't know, but they're one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Great.
It's just the name of your podcast.
Let's put that on the soundboard since you say it so freaking often.
Okay, I will.
Okay, great.
What does the Beatles mean?
Oh my God. Well, they keep the beat. It's spelled Beatles.
Well, and, the Beat movement that was prominent in the world at the time, but now it's just the name of that band. You don't even think about it.
No, you're right. I'm never going to think about the name of our premise of our...
You shouldn't.
I do, and I will. Thank you. We do have a way of selecting movies, even if we don't always stick to the formula. This is an interesting intro. Go on with what you were saying.
Yeah, we're doing Mad Max 2. In America, it was mostly known as The Road Warrior, although the on-screen title that you now see is Mad Max 2. I dug out my VCR and played my VHS tape of The Road Warrior to see, did it actually used to say on screen The Road Warrior?
Yeah.
And indeed it did. It said The Road Warrior. There's not a Mad Max to be found on screen in the titles.
Us Americans can't take a colon?
Well, it was because the first Mad Max had not really been properly released here.
Oh, okay.
They thought, let's just pretend this is a brand new movie. And you can watch it and totally not know that there was
Had Mel Gibson properly been released here?
No. This was his proper release.
Well, good day.
Upon our land.
Is it like aloha? Can I say good day for hello and goodbye?
Of course you can. We have an Australian friend who I meant to pre-screen a lot of stuff. Is this word allowed? Can I say the word hoon? What? Is that a slur? Which just means like a hooligan or a bad guy on a bikey.
I wish you'd let me know when you're trying new stuff.
Well, then you might stop me.
That's true. You hoon.
So we'll just go ahead blindly here. So Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, which we are cravenly doing on the release week of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Because we got big plans for this podcast to go in the stratosphere. And the way you do it, algorithm hacking.
You hop onto the back of a tauntaun that is something popular that other people are talking about.
Is that what a tauntaun is?
It's the beast from the beginning of The Empire Strikes Back.
I thought. So it's not something that everyone's hopping on. Is that podcast for bandwagon? Tauntaun?
No.
Okay.
Mad
Max.
Well, it is, I would say, my favorite franchise that is still ongoing.
That is interesting. I would not have guessed this for you. I would have guessed Jurassic Park.
No, Jurassic Park. There's only one good Jurassic Park.
Okay, then I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed I would have guessed Batman.
No. I only love one Batman movie, Batman Returns.
Other ones.
I do like other ones. Whereas I fully love every Mad Max movie. Okay. I think they're all very good, and I think that they're a product of one singular vision, one man, George Miller. And but this is like a past few years sort of development. And I probably would have said Mission Impossible before the most recent one, which I found to be kind of a letdown.
Well, you know what? I think I would have to say John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick, I think I don't love it the way you do and other people do, but I think that it has a similar level of quality and unity of vision.
Cohesion without being the same thing over and over again.
And I think that people love about that things that I love about the Mad Max movies.
Okay.
And I would say it is so much more about about vibes and just going on the ride than anything else.
And it always is a ride, isn't it? There's always just a vehicle trying to get from one place to another. At least in the two that I watched. And in the trailer for Furiosa, it literally says that she had to travel the world or travel the earth or something to get where she's going.
Yep. They're all about, I got to get to a place. And then often got to turn around and go back.
It's just like Civil War this way. Like, yes, this world is incredibly dangerous, but there's still a day-to-day life that people live. You know, you can't live your whole life in this intense moment, in this slice of pie we're watching that was worthy of making a movie of. In Civil War, there are people who are just at a house most of the time and at a camp, or they found a way of living their everyday life. It's when you need to go to somewhere, use infrastructure, go through other people's ways of making their little safe space is when it gets dangerous.
And you're talking about Alex Garland's
I
Civil
am
War.
talking about that one. Right. You're going through you're showing off your stash. You're showing off what you've been hoarding away by driving it around. Like, oh, we want that stuff.
And
we want your liquids.
Yeah, you're right. And the Mad Max movies are about like the apocalypse getting boring and you're used to it. And now you're just using the sort of trash of the old world to live your best life now. I can kind of see that.
Mm-hmm. But it does seem, I mean, a difference in Civil War, and it's more similar to Dune. What drives people to move from whatever it is that they've settled down into seems to be this idea that there is some better place that is not like this at all. Like that there's still some part of the planet that is good. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, is there ever, and does that ever happen in Furiosa? Will they get to the green place? I know we'll see flashbacks. I guess that's more than most. I feel like we don't typically get to see any proof that it almost seems like like a Garden of Eden kind of like thing that people tell each other to give them hope when they're younger, and it just becomes
I think the optimism, and I think the Mad Max movies are optimistic, but I think it's not that you will ever get to the green place, but that the journey is worth taking, and that you can't surrender to the nihilism. You have to just keep doing the best that you can, and you have to do it together. We all have to do it together.
Because what's the difference? I mean, what's the point if you don't have community?
But Mad Max 2 and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome both end with like a coda of a narrator, or at least a hint of like, one day we're going to get past this and we're going to rebuild the world. And Max, it was nice that he helped us get there, that he played a small part.
Right. And they do just, this is now the end of this man's story, because I'm now, the narrator tells you he's an older man. So like the fact that this Max has not reemerged, he's probably dead, or he's just not part of this anymore. Mm-hmm. So he played his role. And now let's go on with this world that we live in and tell you what's been happening and tell you about our next road trip. And the contraptions. Oh, the contraptions. I do love how this world has endless. A creative person can jump in here and think of all kinds of hell fucking machines and cursed vehicles. Mm-hmm. That I always enjoy. Can I ask?
Yes.
I mean, obviously the bad boy squad villain guys in this Mad Max 2 are coded as a tribe of, I feel like they're saying like deviant gay men, but they do also have sex with women.
So I would say it's just sexual deviance in general.
Sexual deviance, but it's a very specific look to have assless chaps.
Yeah.
And also to be a man riding on the back of a motorcycle with another man with all your nipples out, but encased in a leather bustier situation, and for the man who you were on the back of the motorcycle with to get very upset when you've died. So I mean, they were clearly
they're clearly in a romantic relationship, but later that same guy Wes is on a chain being held by Lord Humungus as some sort of dom sub thing.
It's all about.
But that's the thing with these movies. I'm sure there is an answer. I don't want to know it. I just like the aesthetic of it.
I'm clearing the air because it is a minus for me with this movie. If they needed to make the bad guy seem real bad because of like, look, they are men who like other men. that does bug me. For the time, I get it though. So what I was kind of asking is, was this kind of like one of those things where it's like, all right, representation because of the timing. Like any representation is better than nothing.
That's what I would say. And I would say like, you can have gay villains, but of course gay villains is a, long running trope and this has caused a lot of harm. I'm not equipped to answer it.
All right.
I want to be kind and generous to the movie because I feel
you do? Because of Mel Gibson and how much you love him.
Exactly. Yes. Not his acting, but his personal life.
And because of Mother Australia.
Because of my affection for the series and I think the empathy it has for people. But I certainly can see that.
Well, you said all of this is done by George Miller and he's not a problematic man. We like this man so far. Do you think that I guess we only have one current one and then we're going to see Furiosa. So that'll be a number 2 installment, right? Of anything that's happened past this storyline. I cannot recall.
Sorry. Timeline. There is no timeline.
Okay. Well, he got a chance to make another film in this world with a modern day understanding of things. Did he correct in any kind of way by having any empowered
gay characters?
Maybe I could see a argument for those characters being somewhat a lesbian situation. Maybe.
I have been holding off on rewatching Fury Road. I want to watch it maybe the night before we go see the new movie.
Yeah, it's not fresh. I'm just curious if he kind of he's a nice guy. Maybe he maybe he realized that he might have laid too hard on like an insensitive trope to give some. But he also seemed like he was trying to give camp to the villains in this movie, like to almost make you not too scared of them. Where in Fury Road, I am fucking terrified.
Yeah.
Like they're suicide bombers, all of them, and they're all huffing paint, and their lord is the most evil man ever. And in this one, I love how much he seems to love his people, and he's kind of a sweetie.
He is, yeah.
All right, I feel like I'm sorry.
If he has a attitude about sexuality that is consistent, I think he's everybody just needs to be free and do what they want to do,
unless they're on chains, in which case
if you want to be on a chain and you want Lord Humungus to control you, you should. His only non-Mad Max movie that's come out recently was 3,000 Years of Longing, and you get nice orgy scenes in that and love throughout the crazy sex throughout the ages.
So this is a free love kind of man.
And I think
was he a hippie?
Australia, he's not a hippie, but Australia certainly at the time was not hippie so much as free love and liberation, especially of women.
Okay.
But I'm not smart enough to tell you what the sexual attitudes
immediately
are.
Okay.
So, Mad Max Fury Road, your feelings about that are what? That's the only one you had seen prior to
I loved it. I loved the intensity, the action, the capableness of the hero, that the hero was a woman, but there's also a man, right? And I thought he was Max.
In Fury Road?
Yeah.
He is Max.
Oh, I thought there's no Max.
In Fury Road, it's Mad Max Fury Road. He's the one with the.
Yeah.
In the movie that we have seen, the one that came out 9 years ago, that has Max in it. Tom Hardy plays Max.
Oh, okay. I thought Mad Max no longer is in these movies.
He's not in the one that's coming out this week. Because
this is great conversation.
that is a prequel. It's the origin stories of the Charlize Theron character. The only thing that makes me iffy about that is I like how much these Mad Max movies are not concerned with backstory and continuity, and this seems like it is a direct predecessor and origin story, and I don't really want that. Our friend Dr. G. McGee said he thinks that every Mad Max movie is it's like the same story of Max being told over and over again, but by different people.
I love that idea.
I like that too, especially because if you watch the first Mad Max movie, which takes place in a version of society that's certainly on the decline, but there's still hospitals and restaurants and stuff. You could view that as that's the actual story of Max, and everything else is future generations
heard
have copied and copied.
It's got to get more badass. It's got to get more extreme. It's got to get more dangerous. Yeah, I love that.
When we were talking about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, we were talking about the history of Robin Hood stories, and at first Robin Hood was set in 400 years before the tales, and then they imported Robin Hood into the recent past. So at first he was like, this is supposed to be a character from a long time ago.
Oh, right.
But then a little while later, it's like, this is a guy who lived a few years, like 10 years ago.
To make the storyteller sound cooler.
Yeah, and just to change it to adapt the environment that it's being told in.
Right. What's going to have the most impact right now with my audience right now? They will want to think that I have better memory of this because now everyone knows the science of memory and that it's not easy to remember things that were 400 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magical books aren't really a thing that exists.
The other thing that I feel personally like this movie gets a feeling that I experience in the world is every time a hurricane hits the place where we live and like things shut down and we have no power. And like, there's a gas station that's open 30 miles from here, but we have to like dodge tree limbs and there's no like the traffic lights are out and everything. And there's traffic everywhere. And
people take vehicles that aren't vehicles. They'll take their golf cart where they shouldn't. They'll take off-road stuff because it's easier to get around things. The options in vehicles are a big thing in this movie.
It is when that happens, I'm like, there's the modern world we live in, like
it's on
you change a few things, you turn a switch off and we're going back real fast. Yep. And I really feel that very acutely. And I feel like so much more like my car is so important now. My car is the only way I'm going to go get the guzzoline to bring it back to my house and power my generator. Which is going to make us feel like we're living a civilized life, at least an approximation of it. I actually wrote a song about this, which you can hear on Rural Route 9's The Joy of Averages. The song is called Winston-Salem. It's about imagining a Mad Max sort of future.
I did not know that was what that was about.
In the United States. And the other thing I love about these movies is they're like Buster Keaton movies. They're sort of like Charlie Chaplin movies, but specifically Buster Keaton in his relationship to technology and motion and a man interacting with his machine and trying to hold together a situation that's rapidly deteriorating. Right,
but like having such knowledge and such what is the word with your hands? Dexterity. Such capable gifts that make him one with the train, or in this case at the helicopter. I would say the helicopter is part of that too in this one, and also just the way that Mad Max drives a vehicle. Any vehicles he's in, he seems to be like the shit,
the master of this machine,
best of this.
This is an extension of me, and the gyrocopter captain is the same thing. This is a part of my body. So we could have done any of the Mad Max movies. I was even thinking of doing Fury Road, but this is probably my favorite. And this was the first one I saw. I saw it in college, and it was one of those movies where I saw it and then realized I've seen so many parodies of this without realizing. Like on South Park, there's a just walk away. And I had no idea that was from Mad Max. Though that didn't inspire me. I watched it a few times in college. It didn't inspire me to go watch the others. I didn't until Fury Road came out. But that's my history with it.
Oh, okay.
All right. We make our predictions before we watch the movie.
Mad Max number 2. I'm told it doesn't matter if I've seen Mad Max 1 and that they're all separate but equal or something. I'll bet there'll be desert, and Matt likes it. So is there like a Mel Gibson in this, or it's gonna be big hair? I don't fucking know. They're on the desert. They need water. They're moisture. They need some moisture. It'll be a moisture movie. I don't know. Okay, that was not my best. Jesus Christ, no energy on that one. I really need some moisture. Actually, I'm out of moisture. Do you have any moisture over there? Do you have a water bottle?
I do not.
We don't have any bottles of water?
I'll go get you a bottle of water.
Well, that's what I'm asking for.
I thought you meant like right next.
Of course not. You're not that kind of prepared.
Okay, Laci has had water now.
I've been moist.
Immortan Joe says don't rely on water or you will miss its absence, but she did not heed that warning. All right, here is my prediction. Oi! I am so excited to be taken away to Valhalla with the Night Rider and the Kota and Lord Humungus. Yes, The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2 is a movie that takes me away to a higher plane. It's what I want out of movies. I just let go and let it take me. But I am not confident that Laci will have the same experience. I predict that I will love the movie. I've watched it recently. No mystery there, but I do predict that Laci will say, yes, I can appreciate this is good and groundbreaking, but it doesn't do for me what it does for you. That's my prediction.
No, not yet.
It's a perfect use of the soundboard.
Not yet.
I don't know. I don't know. None of them really worked, so I just need to use it at least once, or he'll stop giving me the soundboard.
That's true.
I get permissions taken away if I don't engage it enough. So I'm just gonna.
Dad giveaway.
Thank you, Charles Ramsey. So, I knew you wouldn't take you away to a higher plane.
With this.
But we didn't have a clue.
We didn't have a clue. No one knows what we're talking about.
I know, we're so old. Ask your grandparents about that. Ask Jeeves about that.
Oh, God.
Have you noticed how shitty Google has gotten recently with its AI results?
I've noticed AI results. Are they not correct? Because I've been going off of them. I've been making life choices.
It's just like if you go down to the actual results, you'll be like, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Right. Not a whole bunch of you
a
just
summary of garbage.
Yep. Yeah. Well, when I was certain that cancer was among us, I did a lot of research and got a lot of AI responses. Like, I don't need to talk to a robot right
Yes, you do have cancer. I can smell it through the computer.
There was no cancer.
So, yeah, we're going to have to go back to Ask Jeeves. Okay, well, this movie is the kind of movie that when I'm watching it, I not many movies do this to me, but I'm like, yes, this is all I ever want to experience.
You're so weird.
This is how I interact with art. This is what I want. I want to be moved like this. But I knew it.
You're moved by these people.
So much of this moves me. The feral child and Max, and that their entire arc of their relationship is unspoken.
Yeah.
That seriously gives me chills. But
that just seems like they got lucky.
A lot of it. Okay, well, it's all luck, but most of what I find moving is just they did it at all, that they made this happen. And when you learn about how difficult it is to do this, or just think for a second to make this movie with these car chases,
get the fuel from one side to the other. I didn't know you meant the actual movie.
Sorry, talking about the actual movie.
Okay,
and that they pulled it off and that it worked so spectacularly. But it seems like I was right. You'd be like, yeah, this is good. Next.
Well, no, there were definitely things I really liked about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
The feral child. It worked for me, but there are things that could have been very much toned down for it to work better, be more believable. As
you think this needs to be believable?
I think he seems like he's from a different movie. Also,
when you say that, I'm like, but no, he's from this movie, because it's just like this is like the Bible, like, but it's in this movie, so
that's true.
What else could it be from?
I just feel like the chapters kind of got merged somehow, like they got stuck together from maybe like semen. And well, yeah, okay, we don't have to get into each character and who worked, who didn't. There are definitely characters that very much worked for me and ones that very much did not. So we can do that as we unveil the plot. Do you want to talk about George now?
George
Martin.
Yeah, okay.
What is his name?
Miller.
That's the most boring name.
We are going over the history of Mad Max 2, aka The Road Warrior, as well as its writer-director, George Miller. Australia.
Have you heard of it?
The southern land. Human habitation of the Australian continent is estimated to have begun around 60,000 years ago.
What are you doing right now?
Laci, we're going to go through the entire history of Australia.
Just let them know the water spins the other way in the toilet, and then we can move on.
The cinema of Australia began in 1906 with the story of the Kelly Gang, which at 60 minutes long, Laci, listen, this is so important,
okay, I'm listening.
Is often described as the world's first feature film. How about that? The Australian film industry has evolved in parallel to the American film industry. With many...
In parallel, you said.
Many boom and bust periods. There's also... sort of like America, but even more intense was censorship, government censorship, or maybe it wasn't.
A lot of government censorship in Australia. Why does Australia seem so laid back to me?
At least when it comes to films,
why?
There was censorship.
They don't want to seem like a bunch of brutes?
I don't know.
They are a prison colony. Is that wrong?
If you're not, we have some listeners in Australia. Write to us. Tell us.
Are you a prison colony?
Laci.
Is everybody okay?
Tell us what you think about that.
Not okay. Are they not proud of that? Is that a thing? Is it real?
I mean, if they're like, hey, you are slave owners, right? What you think about that?
I see what you're saying.
That's good.
So you guys are slave. I get it. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Plus, I think that's overstated.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. You're the fucking history guy doing a goddamn history lesson. You don't know the basics.
Then, in the 1970s, the Australian New Wave began as censorship standards were relaxed. Suddenly, we can have violence and sex in movies. Now, this too is, in an interesting way, parallel to the movement in American films, the new Hollywood.
When is sex allowed in the movies?
1970. And you can watch this documentary on Amazon Prime, Not Quite Hollywood, which is okay. Quentin Tarantino's in it. And he talks you through, here's some awesome shit that happened in Australian movies in the 70s and 80s. And there's a lot of nudity and a lot of people being like, oh, the nudity was so fun. And then women are like, yeah, it was okay.
Wait, yeah. Australia's known for that, right? A lot of bush, I mean, just they went, I guess they were very reserved. And then once that got loosened, they went overboard with nudity. I suppose.
And if as they saw, one movie successful has a lot of nudity. Now we'll make a lot of movies.
We'll give that lady 4 boobs.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But it also paralleled, of movement in society of sort of moving away from conservative, traditional sort of British Empire values.
Okay, but still with the same kind of care as to the audience. This is a PG movie. This is a G. This is going to have some titties. Maybe your 7-year-old don't watch it.
That's yes. And in fact, they had the R rating, which was, you have to be 18 to see these boobs.
I'm just saying, do they have the exact same rating system as us?
I don't think it's the exact same, but it's, it's roughly, again, Australian listeners.
1 didgeridoo, 2 didgeridoo, a didgeridoo not.
Unlike America, yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Unlike America, the Australian arts and Australian cinema has a lot of support from the government at both the national and state level. And this, great directors like Peter Weir, Gillian Armstrong, Philip Noyce, they emerged. They had huge success in both Australia and in America. And then in the 1980s, Australian movies like Mad Max and Crocodile Dundee were huge international blockbusters. So basically boom and bust periods, you have kind of a long dormancy period, let's say from, the 40s through the 70s, and then things start really cooking up again. Suddenly big artistic statements in cinema. And this movement is called the Australian New Wave of cinema. Okay. And at the same time emerges what is now known as ausploitation. Australian exploitation concurrent with that. And again, the documentary, Not Quite Hollywood, gives a pretty good overview. And George Miller is interviewed in this, and he has this quote. He says, quote, "It's very clear now what Australian cinema was doing was basically creating a hybrid between Europe and Hollywood. And virtually all the Australian films that were funded were catching up with our history. So that was one movement that was tending to happen. There was another movement, which was genre filmmaking." End quote. So you have your highbrow, more artsy movies that are sort of engaging with Australia's place in the world and its own history of, colonialism and oppression of its Aboriginal population and environmental themes and stuff like that. And then you also have fucking cool car movies with tits and stuff. Okay.
And that's, does the exploitation part come from underpaid actors? Or just a cheap thrill, easy to make, inexpensive. They will watch this because there's nudity or because it's raunchy.
All of that. And Quentin Tarantino, I meant to write down this quote he has in the movie where it was very good. It was something about they call it exploitation because you, the audience, ultimately feel exploited, that you were promised a thing and then conned out of it, but you still had a great time.
It's clickbait.
It is clickbait. Yeah. Yes. His Grindhouse movie that he did with Robert Rodriguez is celebrating exploitation movies. And just, this was its own Australian spin on that idea. Low budget, sometimes guerrilla films, as in you're filming without permits.
Okay.
Horror, action, and comedy. Notable examples like Wake and Fright and The Cars That Ate Paris. And the pinnacle was probably the first Mad Max movie, which was made by this man, George Miller, who has written and directed every Mad Max film starting in 1978. George Miller was born in 1945. He was 35 years old when Mad Max 2 was produced. He was a doctor, graduated medical school along with his twin brother, then went to be a resident at a hospital in Sydney. And you pointed out when we were watching Mad Max 2 that the violence is very upsetting, like kind of in a specific way.
Lots of movies are violent. Lots of movies have SA, sexual assault, or whatever in them. Not every movie handles it this way. There are two or three very, in a fun movie, it felt out of place. Or like I couldn't totally trust where this movie was going to take me or show what it was going to show me. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is violent.
Well, I think it's intentional, and I think that he as a doctor like got the experience of like what human bodies are really like and how they can be destroyed. Sure. And the first Mad Max movie was very much about the damage that cars can do to people, how dangerous cars are. You know, he's dealing with car accident victims and stuff.
You said he's ER doctor?
Well, so he was a resident at an ER. But he didn't ultimately make that his career. He decided to make movies instead.
I don't blame him. Why don't we call him Dr. George Miller then? He's still a doctor. I guess you have to keep up your licensing.
I mean, maybe that's a him thing. If he had branded himself, you always have to call me Dr. George Miller. Yeah,
that does give you a certain feeling. And Dr. George Miller, that's my brother. They have the same name because they're twins.
That's right. So there was this interview in the AP by Jake Coyle this week, because his new movie's coming out. So there was this interview with him, and I'll read some from it.
Okay.
Quote, Miller was briefly a doctor before finding filmmaking, and his twin brother, whom he attended university with, remained one. As a resident of St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney, Miller saw people in birth and death in moments of, he says, extremis. Extremis, a Latin word that literally translates as at the point of death, would be a fairly apt way to describe the post-apocalypse wasteland of Mad Max. It could apply to, well, all of the characters or to the Earth itself. The more you think about it, the more Miller's desert dystopia begins looking like a fantastical ER. The human blood bags of Mad Max Fury Road, Furiosa's prosthetic arm, Immortan Joe's respirator mask. This is a quote from Miller. I don't think I'd still be making films if I didn't have that part of myself, Miller said of his medical background in a recent interview. You're looking at a human being from every point of view, as organs, as individuals, sometimes looking through a microscope and seeing their cells, or an autopsy, psychologically. In every way you're looking at the human being. That's what you do as a storyteller. End quote.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Yeah, that's the issue I have with just knowing I was never made for the medical profession, or just understanding a body as a thing that lives and dies is extremely disturbing to me.
It is. Yeah. It's something that you
how fragile
don't want to think about. And the filmmaker's like, no, I'm going to make you think about it. Like, no, I don't want to.
I don't want to, please.
So he began producing short films in the early 1970s alongside his friend and producing partner Byron Kennedy. They formed the production company Kennedy & Miller, which continues to make all of his movies. And in 1979, they self-financed their first feature film, Mad Max. Starring in Mad Max as Max Rockatansky was the American-born but Australian-raised Mel Gibson, who was coming out of drama school in Sydney. We talked on our Signs episode, see our episode from October about M. Night Shyamalan Signs, about that Mel Gibson is a piece of shit. We go into that there. So just, we're aware he sucks as a person.
Yes.
And he's a very captivating screen presence, and everybody, it's complicated how you reconcile that you enjoy somebody's work, but you don't like what they are and are about as a person. But he's pretty great in these movies. But weirdly, I don't think he's
not really the movie.
He's always just, an ingredient in the soup.
An ingredient. Yep.
And you could take him out as they're doing with this next movie and it's okay. Or you can recast him with Tom Hardy and it's okay.
Yep.
And
I can count his lines on two hands.
I think it's 16 lines in this movie.
Yeah.
He says so little, but acting isn't just speaking.
Well,
it's presence. But I don't want to make that seem like I don't think he's great. I think he's so good in this movie. It's just, I would not say that these movies are great. Reason number one because of Mel Gibson. I would never say that.
The world, hands down, there's not one character in this entire movie that pulls along the movie or is responsible for why it's good. It is the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm. There is an apocryphal story that Mel Gibson showed up for the audition, bruised and beaten up from a bar fight the night before. And then they saw him and they're like, oh, that's Max. But George Miller shot that down. He said that didn't happen. In the commentary track on The Road Warrior, George Miller and his DP, Dean Semler, they're talking about Mel. I don't know when this was recorded. I think it probably was recorded before his problems started. And they say he hasn't changed. He's a larrikin. A larrikin, yes. It's like, larrikin, what is that? It just means he's
like a lark?
He's a troublemaker.
Oh.
The Australian lingo, that's another reason these movies are so great. You get to learn words like sproggo, which means a child.
I just thought these were like Mad Max words.
That's the thing, yeah.
I don't know.
And like, I'm still not sure if the characters are calling gasoline guzzoline, because that's what they say in this weird future.
Yeah.
Or they're saying gasoline, but they're pronouncing it guzzoline, because the subtitles say gasoline.
But you can't rely on subtitles. Yeah, no, it does. And the way that little meme changes two words to what a substance becomes because of a certain situation, it's just very believable that that slight little change would be meaningful and true. It just makes it all seem more real, the world. Like, yeah, language changes.
Mm-hmm. Which is what's so
People
good.
People become, what did you say? Spazzaroos. What are they? What are the kids? Sprogos? Sprogos. So
which I think
kangaroos.
I think progeny is why that. Apparently, this is a British word too. But I thought for a long time, because they only call Max's kid in the first movie Sproggo. I was like, well, I guess that's his name.
Oh, he has a kid. Like that all happens. That's real. That's not just in his head.
His wife and kid get killed in the first.
I mean, I know that happens, but I didn't know that the first one started. But I didn't know that's what happens in the first one. I just thought maybe that's backstory for both.
Yeah, no,
I don't want to see the first one then.
I didn't want you to, because it is very upsetting. That happens at the end of the movie, and then that sets him off, and he becomes mad. But they say Sproggo, and like that's an odd name, but no, it's just a nickname. It's like calling your kid baby or buddy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Mad Max was a huge international hit everywhere except America.
What? Because we're the tough guys. We're the James Dean. You're not James Dean. We James Dean.
That's right.
Is it?
I mean, I don't know. But
well, I was really excited. I just thought maybe they're copying our thing. We do cars.
I don't know. Well, The Road Warrior was the big hit, but I don't think any individual was like, I'm not seeing that. We make Westerns, not them.
Well, then what are you talking about? You said it wasn't big and it is?
Mad Max 1 was not a big hit. Mad Max 2 was a hit.
You know, I call all of them Mad Max. So,
yes.
Okay.
When it was released in 1980 in America, it was released with a completely dubbed over soundtrack. It's American voices you hear.
What? They're speaking English?
Yeah, but like they say, hey, instead of oi. I've never seen that version. You can see clips of it on YouTube.
That sounds
so
horrible.
Weird. Yeah. And including Mel Gibson dubbed over by an American actor. And this was the only version available in America until 2000. Okay, Mad Max 2. After the success of Mad Max 1, George Miller received offers from Hollywood to make an American film, but he declined. Ultimately decided to pursue a Mad Max sequel. In 1982, he told Michael Spector of the New York Times, quote, "Making Mad Max was a very unhappy experience for me. I had absolutely no control over the final product. It was just grabbed out of my hands. But to my surprise, it succeeded everywhere but in the United States and Canada. There was strong pressure to make a sequel, and I felt we could do a better job with a second movie." End quote. You get the feeling that Mad Max 2 is like, I have the resources and I'm smarter and better now. I want another crack at this.
I can't say.
Yeah.
I didn't see the first one.
But Mad Max is so different too. But you feel like maybe if he'd had the budget and the resources, then they would have gone totally into the apocalypse in that movie. Anyway.
They would have made it like a 4-hour like mega movie?
No. Because Mad Max 1 is set in a recognizable world, that maybe they just did that because they couldn't afford to make an apocalypse.
Right.
And then in this movie, it is the apocalypse with no explanation. Like, there's no real explanation that society is totally collapsed.
I also did not get the sense that they were that close to having a recognizable world until who's the sidekick guy, the goofy guy?
Gyro?
Until he mentions, I guess I miss this or that.
Perfume.
It's like, right. It's like, okay.
Lingerie.
All right. So you were old enough to be a person who was alongside lingerie. Okay, so this isn't even your childhood. This is that recent. But if I'd seen the first one, I would have understood that.
But it's not like it tells you this is this many years later.
Yeah.
But that's also why I like these movies, because it doesn't care. When movies are so obsessed with continuity and backstory and lore now, this was like, just go with it.
This movie is literally a desert and an oil refinery. So like the budget in this movie is just the action and the vehicles and how much damage they did to their inventory, right? I mean, everything else looks cheap. Doesn't look cheap, but it's sparse. It's not a whole lot of stuff.
Okay. So
I'm saying you just saying he didn't have the budget in the first one. I'm saying that it doesn't look like it doesn't look like a very expensive wasteland. I mean, when you take Fury Road and how much they had to build to show you all those set pieces that they had in the water stuff, and we're here literally they're just people occupying like an abandoned oil. You can tell that's a refinery, and then it's just desert.
Okay, but there's a 25-minute car chase with a big giant truck.
And that's exactly what I said, is that all the money was spent on the vehicles and the destruction of those vehicles. That's all. Well, I'm saying you can do those vehicle destruction things in a city.
You could, yes.
Okay, so
but
I'm
they
saying,
wouldn't be dressed like that.
Okay, right, you're right. The costuming. I still don't get the practicalness of him having one sleeve off. That used to be like a fashion thing, I don't know, in my 20s, where like to have the one long sleeve and then nothing over here. It's uncomfortable as fuck. You could never get warm or cold. Or sometimes I'll wear something with the back's gone, and it's like, I really need a back on this outfit. It
does look cool though.
It's even tailored to look like that. Like it didn't get ripped off. It's just like, no, I just like one gun out and pew pew.
So we have to talk about this, Laci.
Please,
how
God,
important
Jesus,
this movie is to the world of professional wrestling.
Is it now?
So several connections. The biggest being the legendary tag team, the Road Warriors, who are literally just dressed like Wes from Mad Max 2, the Road Warrior, and their tag team name was the Road Warriors. When they went to WWF, Hawk and Animal were renamed Road Warrior Hawk and Road Warrior Animal with the spikes and the football pads. And then in the 1980s in Memphis, there was a heel character called Lord Humungus who wore the hockey mask just like the character from the movie. This is a character that multiple different wrestlers would play. And then the other connection is the phrase "the Ayatollah of rock and rolla," which wrestler Chris Jericho would often use, also comes from this movie.
Okay, great.
We had to mention all of that.
I mean, I'm so glad. This is why I said big hair whenever I did my prediction of the movie. This is what I was thinking of, is Tina Turner and big hair.
Yes, in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Another, it will never stop driving me crazy what men envision women would wear in an apocalyptic situation. Why would chainmail titties be the right move when you're trying to protect yourself as a woman? Well, at least she's got a tiny bow and arrow. She's in complete metal and chain around her tits. That would chafe. It would fall down.
I don't know. Practicality's out the window. We can't understand the psychology of these people. They're maniacs.
I can understand that a man decided to make these costumes. There's no protection on the women. All the protective things are on the man. It is annoying.
George Miller's producing partner, Byron Kennedy, died in a helicopter crash in 1983. This wrecked George Miller. When he was making Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, he had to hire a co-director. They made Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. He said to process his grief. It was a big hit, but reviews were weaker than the first two films. This is the one that people say isn't good. I like it a lot. My opinion is, like everybody, it's kind of two movies. You have the Tina Turner first half, and then Mad Max goes off on his own and finds a gang of kids right out of Steven Spielberg's Hook and becomes their leader.
Are they Aboriginal?
No.
They're just all feral.
Yes, but they're acting like Rufio and everybody else. And it becomes a little too cutesy.
Got it.
I think they're like, we love the feral kid in the first movie, so let's have 20 feral kids.
Right.
This is the most that kind of story has ever worked for me, of a Lost Boys sort of thing, because I just generally hate that.
Yeah. You hate children.
That I like it in Beyond Thunderdome, but I can see
why
this people poster think art. It's annoying.
Her hair going into the sunrise like that is beautiful.
Yeah, she's so good, anti-entity in that movie.
Why didn't she do more acting?
I don't know. I think she was only in 2 movies.
Maybe she just didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was her choice. I mean, she was a superstar.
She's super fucking, yeah.
Yeah. okay, after Mad Max, George Miller finally went over to Hollywood to make a movie, The Witches of Eastwick, and it was a big problem for him because suddenly he didn't have control in the studio, was all over his ass. Like George Lucas, control is a big thing for him. And then he made Lorenzo's Oil, which was, Witches of Eastwick was a pretty big hit. Lorenzo's Oil was not. It was supposed to be sort of an Oscar player, but it was not. And then he went into kids movies. He wrote and produced Babe, which was a giant hit. And then he took over as director for the sequel, Babe Pig in the City. And I made a little video about that. I think it's George Miller's most Mad Max movie. It is fucking insane. If you haven't seen Babe Pig in the City, it is like a Mad Max movie with pigs. And then he directed
hate Happy Feet.
Happy Feet,
That
which
is a
I have not
piece of shit.
seen all the way through.
Because it's not good.
Yeah, that's the one where...
It is unsettling.
So when a live action director is credited as the director of an animated film, I always wonder, what does that mean? Because like, I feel like you need to be an actual animator to direct an animated movie. What it means is you're the boss of the people who do the animation.
He took a lot of vacations then.
And
it's just a movie that relies entirely on pop songs that already exist. And it's like, that's supposed to just, and it kind of works. But like a good example of a good movie that relies on pop songs is Sing. That's an animated movie that has a lot of songs that already exist, but it's a real movie with a real story. Happy Feet is about fucking nothing.
Isn't it about a penguin who loses his egg or something?
Sure. It's Horton Hears a Fucking Who. I don't know. It's just, who cares?
I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. I'm probably going to watch it and the sequel this week so I can do a George Miller rankings.
Is the sequel Happy Foot, ironically?
That'd be good.
That would be good.
Yeah. Mad Max Fury Road, a giant hit, super acclaimed. He was nominated for an Oscar for Best Director. 2 years ago, he made 3,000 Years of Longing, a great movie about Tilda Swinton as a lady who finds a genie played by Idris Elba. And they just talk in a hotel room and he tells her the stories of his life of going through orgies throughout time.
Okay.
Very cool movie. And then Furiosa this week. So the picture opens with a very dignified old gentleman recounting the events of the world as it used to be. Two mighty warrior tribes going to war over stock footage of real world events. This is basically as much backstory as you ever get in the Mad Max movies. So I don't know if he's saying this is literally the Cold War leading to nuclear exchanges between America and Russia, or if this is something else. And I cannot tell if this is supposed to be stuff that happened between Mad Max 1 and Mad Max 2, or if this stuff already happened and led to the events of Mad Max 1.
So they don't have any explanation like this in the first one.
Right.
Okay. You're just in it.
I think you maybe could say like the world of Mad Max 1 still exists, but this movie takes place in the wasteland. And you could go back to society if you wanted to, but over here, this is how things work over here.
Who would choose to go over there then?
I don't know.
That's all the guzzoline, or just it's the, that's what is the whole world like this? Is this just where they find themselves? But I guess it doesn't matter, right? I mean, we can't choose where we're born.
Yeah. But I love that is not, you can, there are a billion YouTube videos that are like the Mad Max timeline explained. And like, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know. Society went backwards. And like in the history of the real world that we live in, that's happened many times.
But it didn't just go backwards. It went backwards with technology. Like it went backwards and it was more dangerous than what it was before because now we have dangerous things and no rule of law.
But precedent in our own history, like after the Roman Empire collapsed, like there's stories of people like in the Middle Ages seeing the Roman aqueducts and they're like, what giants built those? Or like what mythological figures built that, like couldn't comprehend. But this is a thing that happens. There were Dark Ages, ancient Greece was interrupted by what they call the Dark Ages. And then there was a later Dark Ages.
Was it a plague?
So that one they actually don't know what caused.
Oh, someone didn't pay the light bill.
But these things happen. So, this is the most connection we have to a backstory and to the first movie because they show some footage from the first movie.
They do. You're not going to show me footage from the first movie.
No.
Thank God. I don't want to see what the little boy looks like.
No, Max at this point, he's an elemental force. He's a folk figure. And he's just...
When you think of it I'm sorry. But when you think of it as this is someone telling a tale of him, which I did not totally grasp with the opening dialogue, but obviously understood it at the end. But that makes all of the bigger stuff more, not that I didn't believe it, but it makes it more fun somehow that this is just someone telling you what it's like. And then he shot a man in the arm, and that man was mad because of his gay lover, and then he looked at him mean, and then he came back.
Max lives on the road in his V8 Interceptor, the same car from the first movie, but this time he has a dog named Dog. And as we watched, you said, well, wait, what do they do about gas? Little did you know, that's what the whole movie's about.
I should have known. Because isn't the whole other movie just about fucking water?
Yeah, and gas.
Water and gas.
I mean, those are the things you need.
Yep.
Max is being pursued by Wes, accompanied by this character named the Golden Child on his motorcycle. They're obviously in a gay relationship. One of Wes's friends accidentally shoots him with a dart.
It's a little tiny bow and arrow. It's not a fucking dart.
That's a dart, though.
No, because, they even have a bow that they cock back and shoot. It's a bow and arrow.
Fine. Max warns them off with his gun. They leave him alone because he's stopped at this wrecked 18-wheeler truck. Why do they call 18-wheelers in Australia? I meant to look that up. Fuck.
Freighter. A Crata.
Because it's a lorry in Britain. My dad drives a truck for a living.
Called a bobtail.
And the bobtail is a smaller truck because he drives an 18-wheeler and a bobtail. But the 18-wheeler, my whole life, he's always called a transport. But that's
also what it's called in Australia.
They call them transports in Canada.
So why don't you just Google already?
Because I wanted to say my thing. Okay. Road trains.
That's cute.
That's nice.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because in America, depending on where you are, they call it a semi, a long haul truck, or an 18-wheeler.
But I've never seen two loads. Do they have different regulations in Australia? They can just keep tacking on.
Everything's a little bigger down under.
Is it bigger? Is that not Texas?
No.
Okay, everything's just upside down under. Okay, so Mad Max's thing is we don't know his thing, right? We just know he's driving away from his problems. Mm-hmm. He doesn't stay anywhere long. He's just driving for some fucking reason.
He's just subsisting. And what he needs is gas and he needs food. So wherever he can get it, he'll get it.
Got it.
But he's scouting this truck and he finds, well, first a dead body falls out and you jumped so high in the air.
I just didn't know it was going to be a jump scare kind of movie.
And it's not, but there is that and there's like one other
one other thing.
In the dead man's hand is a wind-up music box that plays Happy Birthday, and it makes Max kind of smile. And on the commentary track, George Miller refers to this music box as a hurdy-gurdy. They keep saying that like that's a normal thing people say. It's the same with the hurdy-gurdy
man. Well, is the hurdy-gurdy man the one that plays the crank box and the monkey dances?
Let's say
the hurdy-gurdy? So that makes sense. That would be why he's called a hurdy-gurdy man.
Max stumbles upon a parked gyrocopter guarded by a snake. Here, let me be pedantic. Every time I've watched this movie, I'm like, that's a python. It's not fast and it's not going to bite you and inject you with poison, but they act like it will.
That sure is pedantic.
Yes.
I will say that like these things were not clear as the movie was. I mean, there were a lot of moments where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is happening here or why is this leading to this? It's fine. But you've seen it so many times, so all of this is very obvious to you.
Max grabs the snake like he's going to eat it, but then out pops the gyro captain. Pops up from the ground like a Fremen from Dune.
Yes, he does.
This is Bruce Spence, the gyro captain, the great Bruce Spence, Australian legend, also been in a lot of Hollywood movies. There's nobody who looks like him and who acts like him.
Those teeth.
He's in, you haven't seen the Matrix sequels. He's the train conductor from Matrix. The third one, Reloaded. So he's like, Bruce Spence has got him at arrow point, and he's like, looks like I've got myself some guzzoline, eh? But then Max turns the table on him. No, wait, first, my favorite line in the movie, because the gyro captain's like, I'm gonna get some gasoline from your car, and Max just says, booby trapped. Touch those tanks and
like, you're being kind of playful right now, man who says nothing.
But I just love the way these people talk, because later Gyrocopter is like, He's like, no, they're refining. Ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk.
There's some more simplistic time. It takes energy and moisture to talk. So, we'll get more out of let me just.
And maybe there's like radium in the air or something that's making everybody's brains work worse. So you just can't come up with words.
Well, they're dehydrated. Lots of things go wrong when you're dehydrated. Yes. And they're malnourished.
So Mel Gibson's dog jumps out. The tables are turned. Yeah. Pumping it. They are refining. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunka. So if you kill me, you'll never find out where it is.
I do. I mean, I don't know if this is giving anything away, but I always enjoy a scenario where it's a curmudgeon-y lead guy with a person insisting that they're a great team and that they're, it's you and me, mate, right? And that they just keep popping in. They're just, boy, are we a great team that you hate me, but eventually they wear them down.
You're so right. I love that. Whenever it happens. And yeah, he multiple times, he's like, we're partners. He's like, no, he never expressed any interest in being a partner of yours.
And yet you keep coming back.
And he's only treated you like shit.
Right. But you like them. Matt, you like this because that's how you make all your friends. We just force it.
That's true. I would never have any friends.
We just keep popping up.
People like Laci hadn't been like, hey, what you doing? Nothing. Oh, yeah?
Talk about all that.
Like a fungus you grow on me.
That's my charm.
I decided I'm going to try to not say I don't have friends as much anymore.
Yeah, because it's really mean to your friends.
Because I have great friends, including ones who listen to the show.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I have great friends. Okay, they go to this refinery. Look, I love how simple this movie's plot is. There's an oil refinery. They're pumping the gas out of the ground. They're turning it into, leaded gas, whatever that you can put in a truck and use.
Okay.
And
refining it,
you might say. And they have to protect it as well. So that's what they're doing. And Gyro Captain shows Mad Max this, and they're just scoping it out from a distance.
Also did not understand at all what I was looking at. I thought that all the vehicles that are running around it and going to and from and to and from, and then someone's yelling. I thought all that was coming from the refinery. I thought all of that was there with the bad guys compound. Maybe we're supposed to be confused. I don't know. I had no idea that was the same bad guys or the same ruffians that were messing with Mel. Also, they're just running around doing that to everybody, trying to get resources from everybody.
It is unclear. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And it just occurs to me, it's like, how big of a freaking hassle is it to just have a big, auspicious good thing in the middle of tons and tons of lacking of good things? Mm-hmm. Like, do you really want to be responsible for this? I also like how, just flamboyantly they use the resource with the fucking flamethrower, just like, oh, the gas, bitch. Yeah.
So, yeah, the oil refinery people, they have a wall. It's a fortress. They're protecting it with flamethrowers and stuff. But surrounding it are Lord Humungus's people. We don't know that yet, but you are supposed to intuit these bad guys are trying to get in. And so they're just driving around. And I don't know. Eventually they'll find a way in. But here's what I love about this. Well, and bike riders will jump over a ramp and land in the refinery, and then they'll just get killed. But here's what I love about this. These are the beginnings of nation states. You could flash forward 300 years and now suddenly you have the nation of Humungus and the nation of the refinery. This is how,
right. You need
how did England start? Right. It was just some fucking warrior chief who's like, I'm the king of Sussex.
You need a place with resources, and then you need to be the person that stays there the longest. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's why everything's built along a water source, or in this case, this. But they never explain where they get their water. And they never drink any.
No.
No one even drinks any alcohol.
This is a gas movie, not a water movie.
A gas and dog food movie.
From his perspective, Max, viewing this from far away, and then later in the gyrocopter, he thinks he's above it. He thinks, I'm not a part of this. I'm separate from all of this. But no, you are a part of it.
Okay.
And from this perspective on the hill, they really do the refinery people eventually send out their scout troops in cars, and you just see paths of cars chasing each other, and it just looks like ants coming out of an anthill. So
I don't see it that way.
You need to watch it.
I'm looking at it right now. They don't look
you need to see them in motion. Yeah, I have in my notes, you really have to pay attention to this part or else it probably won't make sense. And then there is a woman who the bad guys rape and kill. It is very upsetting. It would not be in a movie today. I think that
it was too much.
It is too much. I think that after watching that exploitation documentary, they're like, but that's just what you need in your movie.
No.
I mean, the movie does treat this as being very upsetting.
Yeah, but the guy that's with her is not upset enough, and she gets no lines, but you get to see her tits.
Yeah. When the gyro captain watches it, like you can see the horror on his face. Again, George Miller would not put this in a movie today, but at the time, I think they're like, this is how you show how fucking gnarly it can get.
Mm-hmm.
So Max goes down in his car to get one of the kidnappees named Nathan. And Nathan's like, oh, God bless you, sir. And he's like, save it. I'm just here for the guzzoline.
It's so odd because going by Mad Max's attire, by what I've seen in Fury Road, what the Lord Humungus crowd wears, you would think all that is available is black leather. And then somehow maybe this refinery used to be by like a Gap Kids or like an Ann Taylor Loft or something, because they are all in fucking pastels in this. That's how you know they're the good guys. They're in light colors, which is not really any more practical. They're wearing too much.
But you just bring in what you have.
Why do they all have... Are they part of a cult? Were they part of some sort of commune? Why do they all have matching clothes?
They're not matching. They all look very mismatched.
No, I'm not saying they have the exact same outfits on. I'm saying that they all wear the same colors. I know it's like red team, blue team. It's just easier to identify your people if you're always... It's also easy to disguise a bad guy if you've got a fucking costume. Okay. They could just wear some khaki and get right in there. Anyway... Lord Humungus, I don't know where. Okay, by now Mad Max has gotten into their little area, right? And he's just talking about, here's my deal, I'll help you guys. Or no, I don't want anything. I just want, I had a contract with that man. He said I could have gasoline if I brought him back here. I've done that. And then the man dies and they're like, well, got no contract. Mm-hmm. And then at that time is when they chain him up so he doesn't get away. I'm not sure why. And Lord Humungus' crowd is right back. They just left and they're right back. I believe they have captives. Yeah, strung to the what, like a hull of a ship to the front, and then one of them's like begging to stop, Jesus Christ, don't shoot, Jesus. So one of them is begging for their life and telling them to listen to Lord Humungus and listen to him and then take him up on his offer. The other one is a little more loyal and is saying, don't listen to him, so it's chaos fucking but Humungus is trying to get them to just walk away from the refinery. You can have safe passage. We don't want to kill you. We just want where you live. Get out of here.
It's like Mr. Burns when the school finds oil and he's like, why should someone else in town have oil? I want the oil. Right. Like, why do you get this oil? I want to get that oil. But that's what like property is. It's all kind of arbitrary. It's just, can you defend your claim to this thing? Right. I'm going to test you. I'm going to put your dedication to the test by hurling bodies at you until you give up and surrender.
This is why regular ass fucking people should not own guns. Like, you can own the big dangerous thing. You can own the big powerful thing. But when the time comes to use it, are you the person to wield it? Is this really what you want to back up? Or is it going to be taken from you and used against you? You fucking morons.
This is obvious. Never occurred to me how few guns there are in Mad Max. If this were the post-apocalyptic America, everyone would just be armed to the gills.
Yeah, no. They wouldn't be, because everyone's going to blow through their fucking bullets. That's why bullets are treated like so precious in this movie. The bullets that the bad guy has are in this like velvet fucking box, and he like preciously takes them out and uses them. And then Mel Gibson's got 3 or 4 bullets in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And he uses them very strategically. The lady like who is so happy he did something helpful to her, she gives him her precious couple of bullets. Like, yeah, no, they are a precious commodity. You just can't remake them. You can't pump them from the ground.
Yeah, that's true.
Once you use them, they're spent.
Lord Humungus gets on his little megaphone, says, just walk away. Just walk away. We will give you passage through the wasteland, which of course he's lying, but
we don't know that he's lying.
I guess you don't know.
That's never been tested. I really do think he would let them go. I mean, why kill them if they really are going to go?
Well, it's the
I mean,
it's
prove
the
it.
central dilemma. Okay.
I can prove it because at the end of the movie, the bus goes one way and the tanker truck full of oil that's the decoy or gas goes the other way. And if their aim were to kill them plus get the gas, they would have followed both. But no one ever follows the bus.
Because they need the gas. Because they're after the gas.
Fine. But if their goal was to both get the gas and kill off the people so that they're not an issue and they don't come back, then they would have done both. Mm-hmm. Or at least send one person to the bus. They don't send anybody. The bus just goes.
Yeah, but it is kind of prisoner's dilemma of like, I don't know. Like he's saying he will give us safe passage. I don't know if I should believe him or not, but I know that it's naive of me to think that I'll be safe.
Right, and the people that are in their little shit town do seem torn on it. Boy, there are just a bunch of idiots in this fucking town. I've never met. I mean, we've definitely seen some like post-apocalyptic shows and movies, and there's always an episode or a moment where there's a town like this, and like people are usually shown as like capable. They've all got a skill. They've all got like a role. But there's just a bunch of fucking morons in this goddamn place that are screaming all the time. And then like some that are like way too cool for school, have makeup, have their hair done all the time, which doesn't fucking make sense. Then someone who's straight out of the mall, who's just a valley girl. Where the fuck did she come from? And then maybe this is more realistic. I don't know. They like this. Just because you find yourself together doesn't mean that you each know a skill. You could be a whole bunch of useless people and some people who kind of know what they're doing. Another interesting thing about this ragtag group, there's not one person in the mix that I would trust with my life. Maybe that woman, maybe, but that man that's running things, he's bullshit. He's so nothing. He's so unimpressive.
You're talking about Papa Gallo?
There's just nothing to him. He doesn't convince me of anything. He's a little bit of a prick when it comes to the way he talks to Mad Max. He wants a lot from him, but he's like not offering much.
His whole deal, but his whole deal is like everybody has been about surviving day to day, and I'm saying the only way we can start rebuilding what we used to have is via this gasoline, and we have to work together. And collectively we can do it, but it's going to take a lot of sacrifice, and it's going to mean everybody needs to buy in and
he's a cult leader.
But he's
got
you can say he's a cult leader, but like that is actually what you'd have to do.
I know, but he's got no evidence that there's anywhere better than where he already is. He's just got this little fucking wish you were here fucking pain. I guess he does need water. They need water.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. They don't ever talk about it, but it's clearly lacking. You're in the middle of the desert. And if you know anything from the before times, which you must, because you're older than Mel Gibson, who knows lingerie, then you must remember that there are other places. How did you end up here? Why are you here?
But even if you were here and you just were going to stay here permanently, you'd still need buy-in from everybody.
Yeah. But most people seem like they want to stay. Mm-hmm. It's his idea to leave.
I like that Lord Humungus, when he says, just walk away. So he says, because they'd sent out their scouts, and he's like, I'm gravely disappointed. Once again, you've made me unleash my dogs of war. Like, you've made me kidnap your people and kill them. I didn't want to do it.
Wait, but so, because we don't know why they were sent out, but they need stuff.
They're looking for a truck.
Oh, well, like, okay, if your deal is I won't kill any of your people if they don't come out ever, well, how are they going to eat or drink? So like just us sending people outside of our walls is what makes you kill them?
Yes, but but this is what shitty people do. They're like, hey, I don't want to hurt anybody. You made me do it, and he says, look, we're all guilty. All of us are guilty. Bad things have been done by both sides. I want an end to all this madness. Just walk away. Just give me what you have, and we'll all be good. When you oppress a people and then they fight back, you're like, I have to escalate my actions, but it's because of what you made me do. But they're only doing what they did in response to your oppression. Like resistance, it gives them the green light to go ahead and be more extreme. And that's what Lord Humungus here is doing. I just think it's well observed without hitting you over the head.
Mm-hmm. Look at this stupid kid. Oh God, that's a dumb picture. I mean, it's not. There's something so sweet about this kid. I'm sorry. I'm responding to something the audience can't see. All right. So I did not understand. All right. So Lord Humungus's crew attacks, and Max shows that he's useful in a fight, which they probably should have already realized that. But I think he helps them get rid of that wave of people. I don't totally remember. But they make some kind of, I know. He wants gasoline and they won't give it to him. So he realizes they have a need and that he has the thing they need, which is a transport for their tanker of gasoline. And he'll exchange that for him taking all the gasoline he can carry.
Because Lord Humungus said, we'll be back in 24 hours. You think about my proposal.
Right.
In the meantime, Max is like, I saw a truck at the beginning of this movie.
That's what he said.
You can use that truck to haul your tank.
I don't want any part of this. I just want your gasoline. Is that a good contract? Because he the whole reason he even stopped in this place was like, you have a thing. If I don't get the thing, I've now wasted my fucking time. I just need the thing. There's not going to be another fill up station for like miles. So yeah. And in the fight scene that precedes this, we see the quote unquote feral child and his fucking crazy ass skills, with his deadly, boomerang that is so sharp that it almost decapitated a person, and it chopped off fingers of another person, and he has a special glove for catching it. And when I first see what this kid does, which he has a tunnel that he's built from inside where he's safe to out of the property. Probably has a bunch of tunnels, but he used that to sneak up, like just jump right into the action of where the outsiders were. And I'm thinking, why isn't the mom stopping this little boy? It did not occur to me that he's feral because he found them. He came this way. This boy has no mother. They're taking care of him in a way that he'll let him, but he's mostly just self-sufficient. And like, no one's going to tell him he can't go in his little tunnel. He's going to go in his fucking tunnel. And he is stealth as hell and capable as hell. Oh, which is another part we didn't talk about. And it's something so upsetting to me. And it pulls on that same sensitive nerve I have about Lord of the Flies and that one episode of South Park. And there's nothing to do with child danger here, but this is a big group of ruffians, the Lord Humungus people, who have all decided we're all going to be shits together. Yeah, but we're shits together. We love each other though, right? We're going to look out for each other. And I'm going to terrorize people for you, Lord Humungus. And I'm going to be your sex slave if you want it. Whenever we walk up on some people, I'm going to be your town crier and be like, here he is. You guys are fucked. He's the best. I'm going to be that guy. And that guy reaches his hand up to catch the boomerang, and all of his fingertips get chopped off. And everyone in his crew laughs at him. Like, you are so expendable. This is the kind of humor we have. You getting injured to a point that's probably going to make it to where you die soon because you need your hands in this world. Like, you're only as good as what you can do for us. You're fucked now. And we're all laughing at you while you slowly lose your use and then your life. Like, it's such a fucked, I don't know. It bothered me so bad. And then the guy kind of immediately realizes, like, well, you got to go along to fit in. So he's like, ha ha ha.
Yep.
Oh, there's something so fucking dark about that.
But it's a dark movie. These are dark people.
I know. But in a dark movie, that was a dark ass moment of like, you are so useless, you little cheerleader.
It's funny what you think is the darkest stuff that to happen in movies. Like, yeah, I could tell that bothered you after I saw it, but it's just funny. I can't predict these things ahead of time. That of all the things that happen in this movie, this will be the thing that upsets Laci the most is when they laugh at that guy.
And like, so the kid stuff was never going to bother me in this movie because this isn't your average kid. This kid is like a super, he jumps in the air and does like this movie has him do cartoonishly impossible human things a couple times. So it's like, this kid's fine. And but his relationship to Mad Max is really fucking cute and like heartwarming, and like this kid was clearly looking for something. And he found it in this man in a way that he didn't find it in these other people that he found for the time being. And I don't blame him. There's not one fucking drip I'd fucking hang with in this group. Oh, I gotta hate the good guys in this movie.
Yeah, but yeah, he
except for Gyro, who I like.
He is so, but he's not from the refinery.
I know,
gang. Yeah.
but he's a good guy in this movie.
Yes, but feral child, obviously something so bad and traumatizing happened to him that when he sees Mad Max, he's like, like this guy gets it. Neither of them articulates anything, but they do feel a connection to each other.
Yeah.
This could be so sappy, so schmaltzy, and instead it works so well for me. Max sees him and just starts playing the music, the hurdy-gurdy, and the kid loves it. So just to be clear, this kid never speaks English. This kid only grunts and stuff.
And howls.
He's very feral.
You'd say he's dressed like a caveman, which is so fucking stupid. No one else has fur, and was he wearing kangaroo? I don't like. Where'd you get these pelts, man?
So we get the first great truck chase. Max, with the aid of the feral child making wolf noises, is able to sneak past the Humungus gang, and he finds the gyro captain once again, who is wandering around, and he's like, "Hey, help me carry the guzzoline back to your copter." And they get into the copter and they fly back to the trucks. Max leaves Gyro behind, but Gyro follows him in the air. Max hauls ass back to the refinery, past all Lord Humungus's troops. They chase him. I recently reread The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway.
Totally.
Yeah. And
me too.
And that is a very short book that's like an allegory for life and how life is hard and sucks. But the guy catches a giant fish that he can't fit into the boat, so he has to basically strap it to the side of the boat. By the time he gets back to the shore, the fish has been like eaten apart by sharks. And it's like, you get one good thing in the world and suddenly everyone comes for it. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone's going to try to fight you for it.
Right.
And you just have to keep going. And that's what's happening here. He found this great truck and they're like, "Oh, give me that truck. I want that truck."
We didn't want the truck before, but now you got the truck working and we really like that there,
Ooh,
truck.
That's smart, dumbass. He realized you could use that truck to haul the thing.
You quit being the campiest lost boys that laugh at horrible human tragedy and spend some time learning a trade. Like, you too could have a mechanic. You too could someone could learn how to do a thing. That way, when you find products around your world, you can make them work again, and like, quit taking things from people and learn to make them.
They're thirsty and the air is toxic. Their brains aren't working. They're just like,
Fine.
This pink looks pretty sharp. Maybe this spike.
This pink looks pretty sharp.
Someone put on pink. Another one has a spike. So yeah, Max goes back to the camp with the truck and they're like, "Oh, Mad Max, we love you. You can be such an important player for us." And he's like, "Fuck no, I'm leaving. It's a pleasure doing business with you, but I'm leaving."
We had a deal.
But Lord Humungus comes back. He has more hostages. He basically does some silent movie acting. He's just flailing around as they have some ADR and he's just monologuing about them. Max casually eats dog food with a fork and watches as all of this happens. And then Papagallo
Second time he did that.
comes and tries to persuade him to drive the tanker. And then I realized, oh, it's Casablanca. Papagallo is Victor Laszlo. Just like Victor Laszlo, he's a boring character.
True.
But he's like, we all have a destiny, whether it's for good or bad, but you have to realize you're part of the world. We're all connected to each other. You can't just be above it. Fascism affects you, man. The Nazis affect you. And he's like, I stick my neck out for nobody, see? But they're like, no. You gotta help us. And again, he says no. And then Papagallo says, you think we haven't suffered. We've all suffered. We've all been through the worst shit in the world, but that's the only way we can ever make good things happen is by moving forward.
Right.
It's the same thing with politics in the world. You're probably going to lose, but if you don't try, you're just surrendering and someone else.
Right. Not taking a stance is taking a stance.
So, and I guess the gyro captain would be Louis Renault.
Okay, great. So I needed everyone to fit in on your little analogy.
So, yeah. So the contract over. He brought back the truck. They'll give him all the guzzoline he can carry. So he loads it up in his car, zooms past Lord Humungus. Lord Humungus says, "You disobey me, you puppy." But Wes tracks him down, makes him crash his car. Then he shoots Max's dog. And they're about to shoot Max too, but the booby trap in his car goes off and it explodes. And then I guess Wes just assumes Max is dead, so he leaves him behind. No. But the gyro captain comes back and picks him up.
Wes. I don't know who Wes is. Oh, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gyro captain comes back and picks him up because they're partners. Remember, they love each other so much. Mutual, reciprocal love. Brings him back to the camp where they're all now going to be leaving. In the tanker truck, Papagallo will drive it. Everyone splits up. All the civilians, you get in the bus and go that way. We'll go this way. We know they're going to chase us. They'll give you a clean break. But Max, who's horribly injured and bruised and limping, and one of his eyes doesn't work good. He's like, if it's all the same to you, I'll drive that tanker.
But he thinks he's driving gas.
Yeah, they don't tell him.
They don't tell him. That's smart.
So they let him do it. Just like Rick from Casablanca. He's like, I will help you. I will. And I think that while he's like recovering, the feral child comes and visits him. Mm-hmm. I think, it's that connection in addition to being forced by circumstance to make him feel like I need to help these people.
Well, and he's like an eye for an eye kind of person, and he was just rescued from what he knew would have been him dying. So he's like, let me repay
them.
I need to repay you. Yeah.
So they take off, and the feral child jumps into the truck with Max, which he didn't want. And what follows is just 15 minutes of some of the greatest action cinema ever. Cinematic euphoria. It's like a Buster Keaton movie. It rules. It's great. Mad Max Fury Road, 34 years later, is like a 2-hour version of the last 15 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, me just describing it would be boring, but maybe the whole podcast is boring. Action is the purest form of cinema, I say. This is the height of what it can do. It can tell a story without words. There's an arc to it. There's cause and effect to every little thing. There's character moments. There's setup, payoff. Like Wes jumps on the back of the truck and hits Max with a mace. So Max's bullets fall forward onto the dash. And then the feral child jumps on one of the bad guys. Papa Gallo pulls up to get the kid to jump to him. The kid doesn't. And then as a result, Papa Gallo gets killed. And then Max gets the feral child to come back. And he's like, I need you to get those bullets up there on the dash. And I just love this moment in the movie. And the kid actor is so good with the faces he's making as Max is like, bullets up there, get the bullets for me. And you can see the kid trying to understand what he needs to do and to get up the courage to do it. And then he
understands, but it is the first time he is not trusting Max. Like he doesn't totally buy in. He's going to do it because he wants to please Max. There's something about him that feels safe with him and wants to get Max to let him stay on board. But I don't know. That's the first time I was like, okay, Max, I don't know where your heart is on this one. You're going to really risk this little boy, this one human you've kind of connected to ever since your little boy died. You're being a little fucking dangerous.
See, I read it as him not as working hard to try to understand what he needs to do. I thought it was.
That's not it.
I thought, well, I'd say
you're wrong.
I thought it was like when Baby Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they give him a little mission to save them all at the end.
You think that this boy doesn't understand what bullets are and that his gun is empty and that he is pointing at bullets?
I think that might be a little hard for him to process.
You don't think he knows bullets?
I'm sure he knows bullets. I don't think he knows the words Max is telling him and to interpret that as instructions.
I think you're wrong.
Okay. We can agree to disagree.
I think you're wrong about that too.
Yeah, I just love that something as ridiculous as this can like make me at least feel emotional about all of this. Wes pops back up. Max yanks the kid back. Max crashes his truck straight into Lord Humungus's car, which explodes. The truck overturns, but Max and the kid are okay. Then the gyro captain shows up. They kind of smile at each other, and Max realizes it was sand all along. But then he just has to smile, like those tricky sons of bitches, because they had smuggled the gasoline into the bus, into barrels on the bus. Which would have
burst into flames, killing everyone had anyone touched them.
If they'd hit a pothole or something.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the movie. I mean, the narration comes back. I never saw the Road Warrior again. But then they reveal the narrator is the feral child who grew up.
So I think he could understand concepts like bullet go into gun, Matt. He's an eloquent man now.
He learned.
Okay.
He was uncivilized.
Fine. You don't grow into being a speaking person that drastically.
If you work real hard. I mean, there's stories about feral kids and how language challenged they are. If you never heard a human voice for the first 7 years of your life or whatever.
We don't know how long he was feral.
No, we don't. Yeah, the Road Warrior, that was the last we ever saw of him. He lives now only in my memories.
That's Jesus Christ.
The end. This movie's 90 minutes long. It goes so fast. Packs so much in. Laci's mid on it.
A mid. You were mid on Abigail. I don't get what you don't get. Action connector.
So that was Mad Max 2.
All right.
one of my favorite movies. Maybe I have it at number 3 on my list of best of my top movies of the 1980s. The Shining at 1, The Thing at 2, Road Warrior at 3.
Okay.
Well, what are your final thoughts? What are your final thoughts and star rating?
I didn't give this enough thought. I think this is a 3.5, but I have not decided. I think I could watch it again. So that's different about your movies. It's got a lot of good shit. A lot of shit I've never seen before, or like it's the granddaddy of shit I've seen later. I see that. It's got good. There are relationships. There are people for me to like. There are people that do not work very well for me. I enjoy the bad guys. I think 3.5.
But you also watched this movie 4 days ago, and I wanted you to watch it again before we did this because I knew that you would feel disconnected from it. It is a movie you have to surrender to and give over, and it does improve each time you watch it. And movies should not require you to watch them over and over again for you to appreciate them. But the best movies do grow in appreciation the more you watch them. They do.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever. I've only seen it once, so 3.5. And I already just said I'd watch it again. So I'm giving it room to grow. You can't force me into this love affair. You can't do it.
I'm not trying to, and I wouldn't want to.
Gyro, you need to come back over and over and over again and tell me and this movie are best buddies, because I don't believe it yet. Got it?
My final thoughts. Jeez. I love this movie. One of my all-time favorite movies. I need to watch Fury Road again to see if I would put this or Fury Road as the number 1 Mad Max movie. I'm leaning toward this one because of how lean it is. And I mean, Fury Road has Charlize Theron and like just more character stuff going on. But this is just a great ride. I love Buster Keaton movies. I find them soothing. I love this movie. I find it soothing and weirdly optimistic. Like it makes me actually hopeful about like what people can do. You just have to keep going. You just have to put one foot in front of the other and do the next right thing, as they say in Frozen 2. Mad Max 2, I give 5 stars. One of my all-time favorites.
Okay.
Happy that we talked about it. Happy that people are into Mad Max right now. It's my favorite franchise. But coming up next week, episode 117. God damn. Remember we planned on stopping this podcast at episode 100? We just kept right on going.
Thank you, Film Talk.
So May 31st is our episode on William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Is it Williams?
Starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, in which they talk in actual Shakespearean dialogue.
The most important part of this episode, Matt,
is that we will have our first time guest, Screen Time Kota.
Screen Time Kota.
We already recorded that episode. It's insane. We had a lot of fun.
It's insane, is it? Okay.
It is insane.
Oh.
And this is a crazy ass movie. We have a lot of talk about whether Leonardo DiCaprio is good or not, with fiery opinions coming from everywhere.
I don't even know how we ever got married. We don't agree on shit.
And but then after that, we're going to be taking a 1-week break, and then we will return in June with the summer
of Spielberg.
That's right. What does that mean, Laci? What's the summer of Spielberg?
It means that we will be covering 9 Spielberg movies. We will have some guests. We will do some alone. They are all great movies.
Not all of them.
They are not all that great. Anyway, the summers are hard and long, and these movies are known territory that we think will be fun. Why do you ask me to do this? I'm not
we get to like relax our rules. It's like, no, this isn't a load-bearing beam, but it's fun to talk about.
Let's talk about this.
Whatever it is. Yeah. We will start it off with E.T. the Extraterrestrial. We haven't finalized.
We can't leave it up to the feds. No.
That's why we're talking about it, because we can't leave it to the feds.
Thank you, sister.
You're welcome.
We haven't finalized our schedule, but we have selected our movies, but we won't reveal them yet. But E.T. will be first. Tomorrow, Laci and I are going to the music studio to sing our brand new theme song that will run all summer. Wow. And we look forward to it. God, Laci's in this hates me so much right now.
No, we don't usually do a whole episode in one sitting, and I am very low E right now. I need to pee. I am hungry. I'm fucking tired.
So, Summer of Spielberg coming up soon, but next week, Romeo plus Juliet with Screen Time Kota, our friend.
Yay.
Yes, and folks, if you're listening to our podcast, if you like our podcast, Thank you so much for the support. Please subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or whatever podcast feed you like. Even if you watch it on YouTube, just subscribe to it as on audio.
Just push all the buttons. All the buttons are important. They all do things.
As many buttons as you can.
We don't make any money yet, but we are getting to a point where we would like to make a little bit of cheddar so that we can continue at this pace. It is pooping us out. It is to keep it good and to keep engaged. It does take a lot of man hours, baby.
So we're extorting you if you don't leave comments, share on social media, tell a friend, evangelize, be John the Baptist for load-bearing beams.
Is on a curse upon your houses, or something.
A plague,
whatever.
Yes, couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
So subscribe, please. Subscribe audio, subscribe video. It's the same product on both, but do both if you want. Load Bearing Beams Pod is where you can find us on YouTube. On the social media, the show is on Twitter at Load Bearing Pod. I personally am on Twitter at MattStokes9. They officially changed the domain to X from Twitter. I will continue saying Twitter. I will continue using this blue bird as a logo.
Such a rebel.
Load.bearing.beams on TikTok is where you can find us, and Load Bearing Beams on Instagram.
Matt also has a personal TikTok account that he is active on now, and this will never grow if you won't even mention it on our own goddamn podcast. Matt, where can they find you on TikTok?
Matt Stokes9. That's a good point. I will start saying that.
That's an excellent point.
Matt Stokes9 is also where I am on Letterboxd. Laci is on Letterboxd too.
Load Bearing Laci on Letterboxd. I got some hot takes.
God, they blow me away.
Okay.
My band Rural Route 9 does the music for the show.
God, it blows me away.
Listen to my song Winston-Salem.
Do it.
So you can see my thoughts on what it'd be like to be in the post-apocalypse. Mainly a lot of traffic, very annoying.
And very little Lexapro and absolutely no ADHD medication. Please shoot me day one.
That is what they never show you is the lack of medication.
They do show you, though, on that one thing.
Station 11.
Yep, that's the one.
Good show, good book.
All right.
Check out the book Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel.
No fucking sponsor. No, don't give them any more money.
Do you love us? Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Three, four. Everybody, Load Bearing Beams, Load Bearing Beams. Load Bearing Beams, Load Bearing Beams. Load Bearing Beams, Load Bearing Beams. Spider-Man. Load Bearing Beams, Load Bearing Beams. Load Bearing. Good!